Hear that? That could be your C-store getting upgraded. Cenex offers marketing support and low-interest financing to help you attract more customers and grow your business. All backed by America's largest cooperative refiner. Ready when you are. Cenex, here for what's ahead.
All right, I'm really happy to be here today because I get the opportunity to talk to Melissa Vonder Haar and her dad, who's joining us, Joe, who's known as Joe V. We call him Joe V. Or actually, he calls himself Joe V. Or maybe others call him Joe V. I'm not really sure. He'll get into that story. But Melissa, as you may or may not be aware, is the chair of the CSP Cannabis Forum and the board. And I'm actually thrilled to be here because these folks, I mean, especially Melissa, she has probably forgotten more than I know about THC. And it's a pleasure because this was really her brainchild several years ago. It's an honor to just talk to her, and it's an honor to kind of let her tell you her story because I think it's fascinating. I think you guys will all find it to be quite interesting. Thank you guys for joining me, first of all. I think this is awesome. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to start off with you because you obviously had something to do with Melissa being with us today. So
I helped.
You did. You had a little something. Now, Joe, do you mind me calling you Joe?
Joe was great.
Okay, Joe, you were in the beer business. Can you for a bit? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri, and there now. And back in the day, when it was an American company, Anheuser-Busch was the place to work. So after my first job out of college at 23 years old, got the opportunity to go to Los Angeles to work as a route salesman in Los Angeles in preparation for the 1984 Olympics, which Budweiser was a huge sponsor.
Cool, yeah.
So that's where I started, and that's also 9 months after my wife and I moved to Los Angeles. Melissa joined us, and just a little quick background, Melissa is named after, as my other two daughters are as well. We're big Allman Brothers fans. So this is Sweet Melissa.
Sweet Melissa. Oh,
Sweet Melissa. Yeah.
It's a good song. And, listen, there may be some people watching this podcast that wouldn't have been around in the 84 Olympics, as we all were. But was there a team specifically that you were watching during the Olympics? Because there must have been, well, let's get to the team. Was there a certain team in the 84 Olympics, whether it be, was this the Winter Olympics?
No, this was Summer Olympics.
All right,
in '84 was at the.
Was there one sport that you were watching more than others?
Well, the women's volleyball I got to see personally, and that was pretty exciting. But going to track and field.
Okay. Did the women's volleyball team win?
No.
Did the track and field?
Oh, track and field.
Somebody
dominated. Yeah. That was the day of Edwin Moses. Yeah, Edwin Moses, and I forget the name of the sprinter, Carl Lewis.
100
yard. Yeah. So we got to see them win multiple gold medals.
Live.
Now, we were at the top of the Coliseum in the cheap seats, but there were 100,000.
See, there's a reason why I'm asking you this.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not because we just want to take a walk down memory lane, but
yeah.
I'm thinking there must have been some sort of celebration because 9 months later, this young lady. So there must have been some sort of Olympic celebration, right? Because 9 months later, she's born. Comes into the world.
Well, that timeline's not exactly right because we had to get a babysitter for her. So she was born, we moved in '82.
Oh, okay.
2-year preparation to the Olympics.
Okay, all right. Well, we got to the bottom.
Yeah. No. You were on track though. She didn't go.
And then, so after Anheuser-Busch, what did you do?
I stayed at Anheuser-Busch for 28, almost 29 years.
Okay.
So I spent the bulk of my professional career selling beer.
And worked from boots on the ground up to...
You did. I mean,
I went from route salesman to I worked in our promotional products department. I worked in as a marketing coordinator in Northern California. I worked as what is now a key account manager for the state of Michigan, was called a zone manager then, before I moved. Then I went to Houston and ran the center of the country as the 8th state area. And then moved back to St. Louis in 93, 1993, and then spent the rest of my career in national accounts, national retail sales there, and ended it. I was the very first team leader for 7-Eleven account team.
Wow.
And I went from there to VP of convenience sales and had the opportunity to lead our convenience team for the last 7 years of my career at Anheuser-Busch. And then I left with it would have been economically irrational to stay
Right.
after the
After the
retention bonus for a certain layer of management. So I walked out with some really, really good people. There were over 300 people, I think, that left
yeah.
the same day I did after that retention bonus.
Yeah, and it was, to your point. I mean, at one point, it was a great place to work, but unfortunately, sometimes
Yeah,
these things.
it's just different.
Yeah,
It's just different.
It is, and then you went and started. So that, I mean, it's fair to say that you were successful in the beer business, and then you went on to start a business that was also equally as successful, and that's
We got some time to go. We got a couple hundred years to catch, or 100 and some odd years to catch up with them. But yeah,
Okay. Yeah. So then, and this is where Melissa kind of enters the equation. So you started this business. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
yeah. I was on the supplier board for NACS, and there it's the individual that owns the seat, not the company. So when I left Anheuser-Busch, I had 90 days with which to stay engaged with the convenience industry. So I was looking for an opportunity to start a company. So that's the genesis of why, and I was able to keep my board seat and still advocate in the industry, and had the opportunity to be the chairman of the supplier board and be on the retail board for a year, which was great. In the meantime, Melissa was in the media business. You could tell that part of the story because we tell it differently.
Yes, that is true.
You joined iSee.
Yeah, so you've been in convenience for a long time, and then Melissa's in media, and Melissa's been, and between your family, right? We should probably call you Joe C, right? Joe C for convenience instead of Joe V for Vonder. Maybe Joe C, but that's just.
Well, I will tell you,
And cannabis.
Oh yeah, that's just
well,
one
then you
man's
could be
view.
Melissa's seat.
Yeah.
So now, Melissa, so we got the background, right? So you're in media. Then let's talk about this, the Cannabis Forum, CSP Cannabis Forum. Let's tell me how long it took you to put this together, and give me some of the challenges that you faced when trying to do that.
Yeah. So, I would be a liar if I said 14 years ago, when I was working for CSP as their tobacco nicotine editor, that I said, yeah, you know what? In 14 years, I want to host an event. Really, I was 27 years old, so I was a baby relatively. I had moved from media, more mainstream media. I was doing MTV, Scholastic. I worked at Saturday Night Live.
Wow.
And they don't pay very well. There wasn't a lot of security in that. And I had just moved back to New York. I had a job with Scholastic, and my dad said, hey, if you're looking to make a little extra money, CSP has an office down there. My buddy Mitch Morrison, I'd like to introduce you and see if there might be some freelance. So they assigned me a cigar piece, which is, tobacco is fairly complicated, as you know well. So they didn't do me any favors. And they're like, we can't have Joe V's kid writing about beer. There's too much of a bias. I grew up in the beer industry. But it turns out I was pretty good at writing about tobacco, having never covered the category, having no journalism background. So thank you, Mitch, for taking a chance. That brought us here too. And after a year of doing that, they had an opening, and they said, hey, would you like to be our editor? So I started doing that. Cannabis, I was a cannabis consumer. I would not admit that at the time. You knew. But that was when Colorado and Washington did their legalization efforts. And it was kind of this perfect storm, because Colorado framed their marijuana legalization as treat marijuana like alcohol and tobacco. So here I am, 1 year onto the job covering tobacco. I know how much tobacco convenience sells. I grew up, and I think from age 10, could cite the stat, who sells the most beer in the entire world? 7-Eleven. And it's one single at a time. And so when Colorado framed it that way, I had this moment of, we should be covering this. We sell more alcohol and tobacco than any other channel in the world. And so if marijuana or cannabis is gonna be like alcohol and tobacco, we should be paying attention. And that first story, Mitch let me write it. No retailer would go on the record. Every retailer I talked to said, I think this would be really great, but I don't want to be the person that brings it to my CEO. Think 10 years ago, like this was, you kind of had that stoner attitude. In fact, he turned to me and goes, yeah, CSP might cover this, but NACS is never going to touch this. Think about, NACS is never going to allow dope on the show floor. And we're still not there yet, but the attitudes have changed.
Absolutely.
So there was some pushback, and a lot of people, they were like, do you really want to be the weed girl of this industry? And I was 27, so it's like, sure, why not? And now looking back, this could have gone very differently for me. But it was something I was passionate about, and I cared about, and I saw from friends and my own experience, there is a market for this that is not the stereotypical stoner. It's moms, it's business people, it's grandmas. And the fight that has happened with our cannabis people, with our retailers who are getting into it, has helped change those attitudes. So, yeah, absolutely, there were challenges. CBD was something a lot of people got interested in, and it's not that they were duped by it. It was excitement of, we can carry cannabis, but it wasn't intoxicating. That's not what our consumers are looking for, and not for nothing, some of those early products didn't taste so good. So beverages, I think, are really the key that unlock this. And in fact, he played a role in getting the Cannabis Board formed.
No, I wasn't aware of that.
So,
I did.
yeah. So, and I'm talking a lot, so I'm looking to keep going.
That's okay.
So,
Dude,
and I love this.
It's a fascinating
Cannabis Board formed, or the idea formed, because last year I went to CanadaDataCon, which is now CannaBev Summit, and it's kind of, after attending 2 years, I finally wrapped my head around it. It's kind of their leadership forum, their outlook leadership. It is thought leadership for the cannabis industry, getting together at a beautiful location to talk about what the challenges are, how they move forward. And they asked me to come sit on a panel about where hemp beverage should be sold, where cannabis beverage should be sold. They needed somebody to represent the convenience channel. They didn't have the access to that. The founder of that event, Ian Dominguez, spent the year before going to all these different events, and he went to the NACS show, and he ended up talking to you.
He did. He just showed up at our booth and introduced himself. And we get a lot of people, doing that. They want to see what we do. And it was an interesting question. And I said, I can't help you with this. But I know you should talk to
I know somebody who can. And
you should talk to my daughter.
Because Ian went to the NACS show, happened to go by our booth, he and I got in touch. I went to this event. I met Diana there. I met a lot of the brands that are on our board. And I went back after that event and I said, the liquor channel is really invested. They are showing up to this. They are bringing the products in. They're being very loud about it. I don't want to see convenience locked out. I want to make sure our retailers know this is here. And the beer distributors were there, which with my background, seeing the beer distributors, that's a risk-averse group. And I'm sure you feel the same way. Like it adds a level of legitimacy that they were showing up and advocating for it. There were multi-generation beer distributors at this event saying, this is a small piece of our business today. We have to protect it for tomorrow. So I came back from that event and I was chatting with Abby Lewis from CSP about a different piece. I was working on a tobacco piece for them. And I said, I just came back from this event and there's something happening here. This is real. Like that thing I've been talking about for years, that moment is here, and it's with low-dose THC beverages. We're behind. What are you doing about it? And within a week, she came back with Amanda Buhner and said, you're right. We want to start this board. And that's what I love about this industry, is that it's all about those relationships, those connections. I've spent a lot of this week talking about building bridges. And that's just a different way of framing your business motto, which was...
Yeah, making friends is our business.
Oh, absolutely. And so so you had the foresight, the hindsight. I didn't get those two mixed up. But you were able to see, the promised land. So, and 10 years ago, about 10 years ago, it was a much different landscape, right, than it is today. What are some of the victories that you've seen in the short term, right? Because it's a huge victory to go from 2015, 2016 to where we are today, right? We've seen amazing things happen. Talk to me about some of the quick wins that you've just seen, whether it be from this event or just in the last year. Some of the things that you've said, like aha moments,
Yes,
you know?
absolutely. And I mean, I'll say too, I saw it as a tobacco product kind of, because from a purely physical or botanical sense, it makes sense. I was like, oh, this is going to end up on the back bar. It's going to be joints or whatever. That was wrong. I mean, we might get there eventually. I think we will get there eventually, but beverage is what's going to do this. So like the fact that beverage exists, that alone.
Yeah, I
is a
didn't see it come.
huge victory. I mean, I was interested in it. I would go into the dispensaries looking for beverages, and you didn't really see it there. And I've been paying attention to can with two N's for years, because these flavors look actually good. And so it's fascinating. But in terms of victory in the past year, the fact that you have both sides at the table, that you are making these connections at this event, that unlocks a whole new realm of possibility. I'm hyper-focused on the regulations right now, especially coming from tobacco, but this is a highly regulated space. I remember last year at Cannabis Summit, it's like, I'm getting flashbacks to vape, because I covered vapor when it first came out as well. And it's very different category, but so similar. And hey, this could be a game changer. There's innovation, there's excitement, but there also seems to be about 1,000 players on the market. Some of them are pretty shady. What's going to happen?
There is, but don't you feel that the vape, kind of vape was more the Wild Wild West than what we're seeing in drinks?
In drinks, you're correct.
Yeah.
But when you look at the full hemp category, like there's some wild stuff out there, Scott. Like seriously, Google, look at what you can buy online. It is not, like you can buy mushroom-infused Delta 8 gummies like online. So that's the piece that concerned me. And I remember vividly two things from being at CanadaCon, Cannabev Summit a year and a half ago. And it was, I don't want what happened to vape to happen here. We've got to protect this. And two, meeting Diana Eberlein with Coalition for Adult Beverage Alternatives, who was talking in the alcohol language, talking about 3-tier, talking about we got to clean up the bad actors. Vape did not have that. And so I walked away from that saying, I want to elevate this. I want to make sure it's clear that convenience is on the path for regulations. We want to see this going responsibly. And I want to make sure what happened to vape, we are not in 6 years looking at a black market of hemp because we got this wrong. And, I really praise CSP because they're not an advocacy group. And they have said, they're like, look, we can't do a fundraiser. We can't do those pieces. That is what NACS does. But we want to play with NACS. We want to elevate this. We want to be a part of the conversation. So a quick example of a victory for the board is, and for what we're all working for, is Texas. Mm-hmm. So Texas, their lieutenant governor was all in on a ban. He really made it his platform and did all the politics that we don't love and attached it to some education pieces, and he got it through. So I was in Sweden on a family trip, actually on a cruise from Stockholm to Helsinki, and I needed a break from the kids, so I went up to the bar and I logged into my computer and I had a note from Jake Bullock with CAN, and he's like, look, this Texas thing is really serious. What can we as a board be doing? And CSP jumped on it. They did some coverage. We wrote out some example talking points, and most importantly, we took that data that we have about California menthol, about vape, that is not something that our liquor partners think of, right? Because prohibition of alcohol was 100 years ago.
It was, yeah.
But we deal with it day in and day out. We know we have actual real-time black market data, and that helped get the veto in Texas. It got Governor Abbott to go against his lieutenant governor and say, he said, we need regulation, not prohibition.
Correct.
And that was in the earliest days of this group. And I'm so proud of how it activated. And I don't know if you remember, I was driving to the Poconos to visit them.
And we were driving from the other direction.
Yes. When the first talk of the federal ban came up, and I got a call from Diana, and she said, hey, there might be an opportunity to do something, but we got to do it this weekend.
Absolutely.
And you got that email, and I called him.
Yeah, sure. I made a couple of
calls. And he said, he's like, it's a Friday night. You're not going to get CEOs to, like, it's hemp. It's not, and I remember talking with you through the weekend, and he's like, this is really special. What happened here? Now, obviously, that didn't go the way we wanted. And so I'm not going to get too deep into what the ask was. But the other piece of that was, for the first time, Diana said, she was like, there were more convenience retailers engaged than the other channels on this.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that hasn't happened before.
No, that's certainly a victory for you. I think another victory, and I've been in the business for a bit. Joe, you obviously have too, right? Joe C. Joe Convenience or Joe Cannabis. You've been in the business for what? Again, it's a small group of people, right? It's a niche people, right? People kind of go from one place to the other, but it's a somewhat smaller group, I would say, right? In convenience.
But that's the beauty of it. The people, we all grew up in it, and people who love this business, they may leave a particular retailer for whatever reason, but they end up in convenience somewhere else. So
Absolutely.
it's like the people I called on when I was calling on 7-Eleven, and they were, basically market managers, are now VPs.
Sure.
And they're, at the end stage of their careers, but we're friends, and we can talk business and we can talk friendship, but everybody's passionate.
Have you ever seen, so again, another victory for Melissa, have you ever seen that coming together so quickly and so organically, right? On a Friday night, to your point, on a Friday night, everybody getting together and rounding up the horses.
Not on a legislative issue,
Right.
like that. No, I haven't. And I do want to, I was impressed, independently of the shared DNA that we have. I was impressed at how quickly Melissa was able to, because you didn't tell this part of the story, after going to Canada, saying, this is a convenience product. The beverages are a convenience product. And she spent the next part of the time advocating to the manufacturers that you need to, you're not going to be successful without convenience, because they're the best at age gating. They absolutely are the closest to every neighborhood in America. And Melissa put on her advocacy hat just about convenience in general to the growing hemp THC
And if you think about it also, you think about it also for innovation as well. It's always been, hey,
New categories.
new categories, new flavor profiles, new energy, new chips, flavor, whatever it is. Yeah. So where do you see, if you could, you had the crystal ball, 5 years from now, where would you like it to be, or where do you see?
Well, I'm gonna go positive, because this man is an eternal optimist.
Yep.
And so I truly believe convenience and cannabis and the alcohol partners, the beer distributors, everybody has a role to play. And I think if we come together, we can make this happen. And so I'm going to go into, if this might not be in 5 years' time, but this is where I think it's going. And I think the possibilities of this category are endless. There are so many form factors. There are so many reasons to use it. We talk a lot about the intoxication. That is where our core audience lies. We do a lot of age-gated products. We call them sin products, whatever it is. This is a better way to consume. It's been a game changer for me as a mom of young kids.
Sure.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
But I talk to seniors that it's the function piece. And not even seniors, anybody that has health issues. Opioids are not great for you, and this really helps. The gummies are good for function. I talked about this yesterday. If you need something that's going to help with pain for 12 hours, you don't want to be constantly chugging a beverage. That's great for that. I have a lot of people close to me, my husband, my brother-in-law included, that they are flower consumers. They want the instant. We've never had a CPG category with so many different form factors, as well as so many different use cases.
Yeah, and benefits.
There will be medical for this. Absolutely, there will be medical. There will be a place for health and wellness. So the future I look at the planogram of the C-store, and you have it in the cooler. It's another age-restricted alcoholic beverage, or non-alcoholic beverage, as it were. But it's behind the counter. We know, look, I have covered tobacco most of my career. I care about these people deeply. It's never going to go away, but I'll tell you, having gone to Europe, having gone to Sweden, which is the first smoke-free country, that back bar set is pretty small. And so what can we replace it with? This is a no-brainer. This is a no-brainer. And so I think you will see not measured out flower, but you'll see pre-rolls back there. Absolutely. You will see vape. And I think at some point we got to figure out where the edibles go and how we make that category. But as you get normalization, this is where people are going to stop in to get some of this. And they're going to go to the other outlets as well, just like they do with beer. There is no one outlet for beer.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be, when we talk about the convenience industry needing to shift from gas, cokes, and smokes, maybe it's just a different kind of smokes.
No, yeah, that's a great point. Yeah. What are you looking forward to most?
Well, besides fully retiring,
Yeah.
just seeing Melissa and the rest of the leadership at our organization carry on the vision of, I would say convenience. Cannabis is just a mechanism to go through convenience like many others, versus if our organization continues to look at the lens, look at the business through the lens of the clerk in the store associate, and what they have to do to satisfy the needs of their neighborhood. Mm-hmm. If you focus on that, we come up with solutions as an organization, but we also advocate with whatever industry wants to sees it right to go through convenience for their product, that they do it right so that they don't waste the time and your money and your effort putting things on the shelf in a way that either the consumer can't find it, or it's constantly out of stock, or it's not priced right, or it's in too big a package, or they're bringing you signage that's meant for a grocery store. If we can minimize the waste that we do there by continuing to advocate for America's convenience stores, I will feel really good about the future.
Okay, so one last thing. And here's the question. So I appreciate you sharing the fascinating story with me. I think you guys are both very interesting. I appreciate the amount of time you've spent in this business, the passion you have. Tell our listeners something that they would not know about you, because we know about your life in convenience and beer and everything else.
Oh, well, I still play baseball, so I'm 60 overly, and I was with the Cardinals batting practice squad, but most people that know me know that. They know that I still play music in a band that covers Allman Brothers and Grateful Dead, etc. Imagine that. Yeah. But before I met Melissa's mother, I was planning to go into the Jesuits.
Really?
Yes. Okay. But my father convinced me to go to college for a year to be sure.
To think about it.
Right.
And you thought about it.
And then I met Lisa.
Nice.
And everything changed.
That's a great story. Thank you for sharing that. Melissa, you're up.
So I shared this a little bit in our convo, but most people don't know it. My first real job in college, I was an intern at Saturday Night Live. So I always joke that was my first job in cannabis, because I had to go get rolling papers for Kenan Thompson, who somehow is still on that show.
Still on the show.
So I was at between the fact that he used to have quite a big bong in college, and going and getting rolling papers. People assume I was destined for the beer business, but I think the cannabis side was calling me long before.
Yeah, from day
thank
one.
you, Kenan, for introducing me in.
Nice, from day one. Yeah. Well, thank you guys for spending a little bit of time with me. Thank you for allowing me to get to know you better and for sharing your passion with the business and with cannabis. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Scott.
Yeah, pleasure here too.
Hear that? That could be your C-store getting upgraded. Cenex offers marketing support and low-interest financing to help you attract more customers and grow your business. All backed by America's largest cooperative refiner. Ready when you are. Cenex, here for what's ahead.